Mr. Rajesh Kumar, Technology Head Enterprise and Government India and SAARC region of Juniper Networks. He's going to present on AI networking platform by Juniper Networks. Mr. Rajesh Kumar, over to you, sir. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. So after hearing a fantastic keynote, I just wanted to talk about what is experience all about, right? Because what happened in Juniper is I represent Juniper and I head the technical engineering for India and SAARC. So last 7 years, what we did was that we looked at some of the key aspects of the customers like BFSI, like manufacturing, healthcare, hospitality, IT/ATS. And we realized that what is the key thing which is coming out is that they are looking at some of the key experiences, what is required on the network. So what we did was that 7 years of innovation and focus, we changed our complete focus onto the experience as one of the key things what we need to look at. So that is why we have put experience first network, because today that is driving the key in terms of initiatives by the customers to see how these users are getting those experiences, right? So that is what is important in terms of the experience. So, but if you look at this slide, always network is invisible, but when you look at the end users who are using this and then accessing the applications, you see that 10 seconds downtime is completely lost in a 100 meters race. That means you have lost the entire race to be viewed, right? And then outage in any of the retail, you lose a lot of millions of dollars because the packages are loose. And if you look at the students not getting the examinations done because of some of the network issues which they are facing, or it may be some hospitality or a healthcare where the algorithms that who doesn't have this memory wanders around the hospital and the nurse loses their track. So all these are typically, if you look at what is that it relates to. Can you think of what it relates to when you have this kind of issues? And you have seen these issues, but you might have pressed enter again and again and tried to get the web page back, right? But there is fundamentally, there is an issue. So what it all relates to is connections, correct? Today, if you look at it, every connection counts. It may be an ATM transaction, it may be a UPI transaction, it may be a user who's using your bank account transactions. When you look at these transactions, one may look very small, but when it grows into hundreds and thousands, it becomes very big, right? So we can't actually ignore even one connection which goes on to the network. So what we say is every connection counts when you look at this kind of scenarios. So what you need is a different approach to handle this. That is where we talk about experience. When we talk about experience, we asked ourselves the questions, how do we measure? Right? Because today what happens is whenever I go to customers and speak, they talk about measuring the connectivity. Measuring the connectivity doesn't lead to anything, because Wi-Fi, if you see, it shows green. All lights are on. But when you see your mobile, you will have a complete Wi-Fi signal, but your application is not working or it is very slow. Right? That doesn't mean that you are measuring the connectivity and saying that my network is healthy. That is not the criteria. The criteria is that how do you measure the experience of the users who are using your applications? Can you measure the experience of the users who are using your applications? It can be a customer, it can be a remote branch employees, all those, or it may be brokers, anything which they are using, can you measure those experience? That is the criticality. It is not measuring the connectivity. So what we did was we brought in AI, right? Because this is and what we have done is we have actually looked at 3 parameters, right? One is can we ensure every user having the right experience? Can we measure the experience of every user on the network? And can the network adapt itself to solve the problems of the users before the users come to know about it? Right? Before the users come to know about it, can IT operations team can solve the problem of the users? This we have heard from a lot of customers because the top management, when they have to come, the IT operations guys say that whether all the network is okay or not, when my top management team comes to the office and access the network, how will I know? Right? So that is critical. And the third is, does the network meet all the needs of the stakeholders? Does it meet all the needs? Applications, it can be services, it can be Teams call, it can be Zoom call, whatever you are doing. Does the network is trying to provide that kind of experience to all kinds of services, all kinds of users where they're using applications? It can be on public cloud, it can be on private cloud, it can be on your own data center, anything, right? So end to end. So what we did was, we did only 3 things very simple using our AI technology. Our AI is embedded. It is not that we brought it as a patch or a net and bolt kind of a solution after we defined the solution. We embedded AI to the solution in the way that we can measure the right data. Because everyone knows here that when I look at AI, AI requires huge amount of data to analyze, right? So we got the right data. For the last 7 years, we say that our AI is a 7th generation AI because we have collected so much of information from the last 7 years that it is an error-free kind of a solution which we provide in terms of giving the right response. Right? So what we do is, we collect the data and give the right response to the IT operations guy to say that exactly where the issue is in the network. It can be issue at the Wi-Fi, it can be issue at the wired, it can be issue at the WAN, it can be issue at the cloud. We will pinpoint immediately and let you know that this is where the issue is and you need to solve that issue at that particular point. You don't have to look over the entire network. That is what we call it as a right response. And the third is, we have built the right secure infrastructure because this should be very scalable. When I talk about thousands and thousands of wireless, thousands and thousands of switches, which is onboarded onto this AI engine, then it should be scalable and it should have a secured infrastructure to provide this kind of right feedback. So we have built a microservices architecture, which is similar to your GCP, AWS, you think of any cloud provider. We have provided this kind of architecture for the network to scale, to provide the right feedback and quantify the data in a right format to provide the right solution to analyze and give you the proper feedback in terms of where the problem is. So that is what we have done in terms of using our AI Ops engine, right? And then what we did, the next thing is, we embedded this concept of AI, right data, right response, and the right infrastructure across our complete portfolio of Juniper, whether it's a campus network, whether it's a branch network, whether it's a data center network, or whether it's a WAN network. We embedded this AI Ops from the solution perspective, starting from your client and going towards the cloud. That is what we call this technology as client-to-cloud technology, because a client accessing the applications on a private cloud or a public cloud will pass through all these technologies without him coming to know about it, right? He is connected on a Wi-Fi, but he is going through the Wi-Fi, through the switches, to the WAN network, and going over the internet to the cloud. But he has a problem. Now, how will you identify where is the problem? See, there is 2 differences which you need to know. One is, when you say that I know network SLA gives you only the service level assurance of the network. But what we are talking here is service level experience of the user. You see the difference? We moved from network to the user. And we are measuring the experience of the user over the network. So that is the difference what we have brought using our AI native platform. It is a huge paradigm shift what we have done in terms of moving from network SLA to user SLE. That is what we have done. And with this, we have provided the same SLE to the IT operations team. So that is where we make the difference in terms of how we are, in terms of when you look at measuring the experience of the users. Right? So these are all some of the key things which I don't want to. So this is what we do. Okay? This is simple. We have a one single dashboard for entire network for you. Right? It can be a Wi-Fi, it can be a wired, it can be a WAN, it can be a data center, it can be a NAC. You put everything and it is controlled by one single dashboard. And you see that we do a lot of things in this in terms of doing a pre-connection and a post-connection. That means to say that when a client comes and connects, I will tell you how much time he took to connect to the network, he or she. What was the issue? Today what happens is, when there is a problem, everyone points the problem to the network. They never see the application, they never see anything. They say, network mein problem hai, jaake solve karo. Right? But we will tell you whether it is a network problem or a DHCP server problem or a DNS problem or a cloud link problem. We will let you know to the IT operations guys, and they can immediately say there is no network problem, boss. It is problem with your link, or it is problem with your DHCP server, or it is problem with your application. So what we say is that this is what we call it as an assurance across Wi-Fi, wired and WAN. So if you look at this, we can tell you the application health, we can tell you the WAN link health, we can tell you the gateway health and let you know. If you see on the right hand side, there is a lot of things. What is the network loss? What is the jitter? What is the latency? So if you look at all these parameters, this is what we do using our AI native platform. No one can give you this granularity of information. That is important. When you want to troubleshoot, you need granularity of information, and we give RCA immediately. If people have worked in IT operations, they know that how difficult it is to get a RCA. But you will get the RCA immediately when there is a problem. That is the difference what we are bringing into the network, right? So these are some of the key things, and we do something unique here. Okay, I'll take 1 minute to explain that. Whenever there is a intermittent issues, no one will be able to find out. Because today, 11 o'clock, that issue came up. After 2 days, again, 4 o'clock, the issue came up. No one will be identify that. We do something known as a dynamic packet capture. Whenever there is an issue, it will capture the packets of that particular scenario. And you can look at that packet capture and exactly identify what was the problem. Otherwise, these intermittent issues, you can never capture it because you have to recreate that scenarios, and it is very difficult to recreate those scenarios. So that is where we make a difference in terms of AI native platform, right? And we have this AI ops engine, which is known as Mavis, right? If you have seen Iron Man always speaks to one guy. It is Jarvis, right? So instead of Jarvis, we speak to Mavis. So the Mavis tells me everything. We call it as a coffee cup. In the morning when an IT operations guy comes with a coffee and opens this, he knows today my campus network or my data center or my branch has 20 issues. You can see the actions there, 20 issues. When he clicks that 20 issues from layer 1 to layer 7, it will identify what are those issues. Bad cable, missing VLAN in switch number 10, port number 10, congestion in switch port number 20, right? It will give you all those complete visibility in 2 minutes for the IT operations guy. He just have to take 10 minutes to solve those issues. And done and up and running. That is the AI native platform what we are talking about. Right? So, one example I wanted to give. When you do a Teams call or a Zoom call, you will have problems, but I can bet that IT operations guy cannot identify exactly where the problem was. Right? He will say, आपका क्लाइंट का इशू होगा, आपका CPU यूटिलाइजेशन हाई हो गया, इसलिए आपका प्रॉब्लम आया, ये सब चीज़ें होता रहता है. But if you see this, I can let you know, for a client of Samudita's, there was issue with the Wi-Fi. But it didn't affect her Zoom in terms of audio quality, in terms of video quality. So it was good. But when you look at below, there was an issue in the client as well as a Wi-Fi. So there was an issue. You can see the entire flow has been shown in one complete dashboard. Now, if IT operations guy, say, if I go and say that I had an issue in Zoom, if he just selects Rajesh, and then he can see exactly where was the problem for Rajesh. So that is what I was saying. We have moved from network to the user. So this is how you can see the complete experience. And we call it Marvis with it. We also have a conversational interface. That means you can ask Marvis that, do you need to troubleshoot a site? Do you need to troubleshoot an application? Do you need to troubleshoot a user? According to that, it will give you all the details. You don't have to use CLI. You don't have to use user interface. You just get into the conversational interface. And you get all the issues shown here and where you can troubleshoot it easily. So that is what I wanted to talk about. And this is our SD-WAN story. Just I will touch upon it. This is also unique from our end because we do session-based. We do not do packet-based. That means your Zoom call, Teams call, voice call, application, banking application are all sessions. It is not packets. So if you do sessions, then the performance is good, the latency is less, and the experience of the user gets enhanced. So that is why we have moved into Session Smart. And WAN assurance, user experience. That is why I said you get the user experience because we don't do tunnels. We don't do tunnels, sorry. We don't do tunnels. We do tunnel-less architecture. There is no IPsec. We do adaptive encryption. We don't do encrypt the sessions which are already encrypted. We save 30 to 40% of the bandwidth, right? And we have the fastest failover. In one of the use cases, we have failed over 40,000 calls, SIP calls, with 0 call drop. There is a case study on it. So these are the things we do on the SD-WAN solution. So I just wanted to touch upon, I don't have time because it's already gone. But we also have NAC completely, which can be used on the cloud, what I talked about. And this is one of the things which I wanted to talk about. Today, when you go and access the network, if there are issues, you will come to know only when the client comes and reports to the IT operations guys. What we have done is, we have started with Marvis, known as Marvis Minis. What Marvis Minis does is that it will sit as a client in the APs and it will do the simulation of a client before the users come into the network and tell the IT operations guy that these are the issues which may come up in the network when the clients come in. Can you believe it? Users are coming at 9:30. At 9 a.m. I got all the information that this may be the issues which will come up in your network when the users are coming into the office. How good it is. Then I can solve those all issues completely before the users come into the network. These are the Marvis Minis which gets connected to the APs as a clients and simulate those applications, what users used to simulate, because Marvis has collected all that. So he knows what are the applications the users are using. He knows what is the services what they are using, and it pushes and does that. Right? So this is known as Marvis. We recently launched. No one in the industry has got it today because we can tell you before the users come to your network. Right? This is, I don't want to touch. So a campus, so 90% what we have reduced the tickets. Okay, 85% truck rolls have been reduced. These are all good things in terms of why we do this, because of the AI native platform. Right? And we are in the Gartner as the topmost leader where no one is, even with the location-based services. So I just want to touch 2 minutes on the data center. So we have a same solution, AI native platform from data centers, where we have the story of switches, security, everything put together. But I just wanted to touch upon one thing is this, right? We have Apstra as a fabric management tool, which is an intent-based. That means it is a multi-OEM tool, and you can have a single source of truth in terms of saying that any complex network, you can define what is required, why is required, and how this data center has to work. You don't have to continue to CLI. You just have to put your intent, and the intent will be pushed to the entire data center. And if you have a DC-DR, we recommend that DC should be on one OEM, DR should be on another OEM, because it always gives you that failover option as well as the reliability option. But you can interconnect them using Apstra because it's a multi-OEM architecture. So it is intent-based, so you can just push the configuration, and it can also do the app flow over the data center, right? It can find out how your applications are working over the overlay or a data center network, right? And then it can also do, and we have all the designs in place which has been tested, and you can deploy it, and we can give those testing configurations for you to implement immediately. So we have integrated this with Marvis. So again, you get the same AI engine to identify the issues, what is happening in your data center before the users come to know about it, right? And one case study is that in one of the banking sectors in India, they deployed the data center in 19 minutes using this Abstra fabric tool. 19 minutes. This is the real story of how Abstra can help you in building your data center and faster rollout of your services. So this is for AI cluster. I don't want to touch upon. So reduction, again the same, 6 months payback and 10% reliability and no vendor lock-in. So all this are using our Juniper solutions, whether it's banking, whether it's top service providers, cloud providers, you name it, they are using this because they are finding this benefits from our AI native platform, what we have brought in, right? So now with all this solution, it is just not the connection, but we actually make every connection count in terms of the AI, what we bring in, and we can identify every connection of the user to say how is this connection was. And where was the problem if there is any problem with that connection, right? So I just wanted to say, are you ready to adapt this? And we are there to do a POC, we are there to do a demo, and we are there to demonstrate you that what we are speaking is what we are going to deliver. Thank you so much. I took a lot of time. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks.
So can you stay back for a minute, sir? Thanks very much, Rajesh sir, for your wonderful presentation and for supporting the event in such a comprehensive manner. Thank you very much. May I have the pleasure of handing you over a small memento on behalf of the organizers?